Hey, hillbilly singer, sing me a song about a cold-hearted woman done a good man wrong. Here's a 20 in the bucket.
I'm Jivin Johnny Etheredge, Country Classics on 91.9 KRVM. On the phone here with hillbilly singer Scott Southworth. Scott, you are undoubtedly aware that there was a time in country music when the term hillbilly came to have a negative connotation to it.
I did indeed. Yes, sir.
And so you have chosen to call yourself a hillbilly singer, and in fact, your previous CD was called The Last Honky Tonk in Town. Phrases like honky tonk, hillbilly, that brings to mind classic country music, not country music being made in the modern era.
That is true. I was going to say, I think hillbillies probably has a negative connotation even in today's music as far as what's on the radio.
You are from Springfield, Oregon, originally. You're a hometown boy.
Yes, sir. I grew up in Springfield. I went to Springfield High School, went to Lane Community College, listened to KRVM. You were my first introduction to country music and the blues as far as traditional country.
There's no winning when the hurting words are counted. It's a fine line separating love and war.
I am so flattered to hear you say that the Country Classic Show and Breakfast with the Blues had any influence on you at all. What year did you graduate from Springfield High School?
1984.
Now, in that year, were you listening to what we might call classic country music or hillbilly music for pleasure?
Not with any regularity. Back then, I was listening to Van Halen. I was listening to Duran Duran, and I just started playing guitar, and I think that's right around the same time that I first discovered your shows, actually. And so that's when I would get some classic country. I'd really eat up the blues as well. Johnny, I did bands. I was in a classic rock group called Shazam back in the 90s that was doing, Little Richard and Elvis, and we used to play all over Eugene, Springfield area, Lane County. And then I actually moved to Memphis late 80s and kind of immersed myself in the Delta Blues to learn more about that. And when I came home, I was singing jazz at Scampy's and Joe Federico's, and then I joined a rock band out of Portland. So any kind of music you could imagine, but my songwriting was always traditional country. No matter what it was I was playing as a band, my writing was always very, very traditional country, and I didn't even recognize that that's what it was.
I don't remember ever seeing the water this blue. I felt an island breeze so sweet and warm. The pink and white sand around the cabana, it's a picture-perfect tropical morn.
Who would you cite as the influences on your songwriting and presentation style?
Like I said, since I didn't even realize what I was writing back then, I have to take it way, way back to spending time in my early years with my father, who listened to an awful lot of Merle Haggard and Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson. And then my mom also really liked country. She'd play country, but, when you're a teenager, you don't want to listen to you don't want to like what your mom likes musically. So I remember country music being in the house, but I don't think I consciously was attracted to it as I was subconsciously, which was apparent in my writing. I'd take these songs to the bands I was in, and they'd say, "What is this? It's good, but I don't know what it is." And I couldn't even answer their question. So I just had a bunch of songs in the sock drawer of my dresser for years and years before I realized that I was writing country.
Hit it! Well, I got a one last stop in looking back, then I'm a heading on to San Antonio. With a pocket full of money, gonna spend it on my honey, who's a little tired of being alone.
What do you say about the fact that you've enjoyed several, at least 3 sizable chart hits in Europe, while not having that same kind of chart success in the United States?
Johnny, I'll tell you, they just eat up traditional country in Europe. There are a lot of people out there that love hearing this music, and boy, let me tell you, they are dressed to the nines when they're out there and at these festivals for the weekend or for the week. Sometimes these festivals last all week long, and they're in their hats and their chaps and their bandanas, and they want to hear that authentic sound, and they eat it up.
There is a magazine called Country Music People that named you the Indie Songwriter of the Year.
How about that, huh?
Also, the Academy of Western Artists tagged you as producing the Pure Country Album of the Year. What do you think about these kind of honors?
Both of those were extremely meaningful to me. With the Country Music People, you know, I moved to Nashville 15 years ago for songwriting, to be a songwriter. So to have a magazine like that recognize me in that way, that meant a great deal to me. And then as far as the Academy of Western Artists, the music is nominated by and voted on purely by independent DJs around the world. I tend to avoid any of the contests where I have to get on social media and beg my friends to vote for me. This was just nominated by the DJs, and then they voted my album as the album of the year. That meant a great deal to me, because those are the people like you that are out there keeping this music alive, and the fact that they felt strongly about it is an amazing feeling.
Why can't every day be Friday night when I just got paid and the beer's on ice?
Country Classic Show on 91.9 KRVM. I'm Jivin Johnny Etheredge, visiting with Scott Southworth. I asked Scott about his opinion of modern popular country music.
You may be surprised by this, but I support it. I'm thrilled with it, because my feeling is if Florida Georgia Line and Luke Bryan, if they were out there playing the traditional type of country that I love to play, well, then nobody would want to see me do it. So they can go ahead and keep rapping and wearing those little jeans and dancing around, because there is still, as I go around this country, there are people that still want to hear traditional country music. There are people that still want to hear those stories. And I'm more than happy to be one of many, many independent artists out there that are doing that. And I know there's people like you and so many wonderful DJs out there that are keeping it alive for us to come out and play. So thank you.
Honeysuckle air is sweet and the grass is cool. On a barefoot midnight summer walk neath the lover's moon, your silhouette in that white cotton dress, I'll always remember this.
Scott Southworth talks there about a song called You Bring Out the Honky Tonk in Me.
I travel an awful lot, Johnny. I work all over the Southeast, and I tend to write when I'm driving, and sometimes I'll just hear something or I'll think of something, and it'll just make me think of a song. And I think that particular song, I was just thinking about how we're always looking at our significant other, as we call them, our better halves, right?
Mm-hmm.
You probably call Candy your better half, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
I guess in my mind I was thinking, so what if this person, instead of improving you or making you better, actually helps cultivate all the things that you love to do? You know, if I wanted to just hang out in the honky tonks all night and I found a woman that wanted to do that too, wow, what a crazy thing that would be. Now, my wife makes sure that I'm in bed at a much more reasonable time than that, though.
There's been women that tried to find my sensitive side, few attempts to settle me down. Good girls have prayed I'd see the sin in my ways. Finally stopped my rowdy nights of hitting the town. Then you came along, we're peas in a pod, fitting together naturally. Darling, you bring out the honky tonk, the honky tonk in me. Ice cold pictures.
Scott Southworth, speaking of a song called Nobody Leaves This World Alive.
Well, that was really just based on the fact that I'm sure that you saw plenty of this on your social media, and all your listeners did too. Back in 2016, we had a presidential election, and people went crazy on both sides of the spectrum, screaming at each other on social media. You know, in my head, I was thinking, well, boy, I can't wait till this election's over so everything calms down. I think you'll agree that that was not the case. And then I started seeing people on Facebook saying, well, if you voted that way, don't friend me or unfriend me, or if you voted for that person, unfriend me right now. I don't know when we got to that point. You know, when I grew up, I still remember my mom saying, we don't talk religion or politics with our friends. And consequently, they had a bunch of friends that, now that I look at it, probably all felt different ways about all sorts of things. And so the whole point of that song is, you know, what if we look at the things that we can get along with and agree on and not worry about those differences and just have some fun with each other, because we're all going to be here for a short period of time and then we're gone. And I'd rather spend my time enjoying it with people than pointing out the things that I disagree with on.
Nobody leaves this world alive. Some bound to fall, some bound to fly. You got your number, I got mine. No point in a worry, you know, cry. Whiskey bottle, you're my only friend tonight. You and me can drink that woman off my mind.
Scott Southworth discusses drinking songs.
Can I tell you that when I go to Europe and I do interviews, one of the first questions that have been asked of me several times is if I had a problem. And I've had to tell them that I sing about drinking more than I drink about drinking these days. The whiskey bottle actually started out as a slow, very, very sad waltz, if you can imagine that. But the song was about 7.5 minutes long. I couldn't figure out what to cut, so one day I said, well, what if I just played it fast? And it turned into what Whiskey Bottle is, and that was actually my first charting song in Europe. It was my first successful song over there. But no, that's just the idea that, you know, I blew it, I lost a woman, and now my only friend is this bottle I have in my hand because I don't want to talk to anybody else. And that's the gist of that song. Whisky in Heaven, I think I was at church one day, and I was thinking, boy, you know, when they talk about heaven, I sure hope it's fun there. I'd want to make sure that I could still have a good time with my friends while I'm up there. And that's the gist of that song.
I went to church on Sunday, found a seat in the back row. That preacher had the spirit. He's on a holy roll. He had that congregation jumping in the pews. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Brother, have you heard the news? As that choir started clapping and singing. Now, kids, you never know it. I bet you won't believe it. For mama was your mom. She's a roller derby queen. Once a month, Saturdays down at the arena, I'd buy a front row ticket just to hoping I could see her. No other girl was finer and none of them half as mean. For mama was your mom. She's a roller derby queen going round and round.
You know, a friend of mine from high school, that actually even from middle school, I went to Hamlin junior high. It was still a junior high then. And Janae Hassick was a girl that I rode the bus with to go to school. So I've known her for many, many years. And she was a roller derby girl. I think she retired at age 45. And when I found that out, I called her and we just talked about what she loved about it and what kind of experiences she had with it. Just hearing her talk about it and the joy she got from doing it for all those years helped me come up with that song. So, and I really do. I get a lot of ideas. Put Another Quarter in the Ride, which is on the Hey Hillbilly Singer CD. I got that idea from a friend of mine that I went all through high school with, and he posted when him and his wife had his 25th anniversary, let's put another quarter in the ride. I get an awful lot of song ideas from my friends back home, and I appreciate their lives and their stories.
Our friends were taking bets how long this thing would last as they stood beside us on our wedding day. Honey, we sure proved them wrong. 25 years holding on. Two young foolish lovers blew them odds away.
Scott Southworth on a tune called Waltzes and Old Cowboy Songs.
That song I wrote in Missouri. I was driving from Kansas City to St. Louis, and there had been all these signs for a barbecue place for miles and miles and miles. Stop at this exit for the best barbecue in Missouri. And I stopped there, and I went in, and I sat down, and in the middle of the restaurant, they had a life-size stuffed horse with a life-size mannequin of John Wayne on the horse. And instead of the normal John Wayne cowboy outfit, he was wearing a T-shirt that said, "Eat at whatever this barbecue place was." And I got up and I left because I just didn't feel like you should do that to John Wayne. And I ended up eating McDonald's that day for lunch. From that exit to St. Louis, I wrote that song about we've paved all the prairies and John Wayne is gone and nobody plays waltzes or old cowboy songs.
He gets up on his horse with the sun, and he'll work till the work is all done. He'll stick around till it's over, then he's looking for the next run. But they're far and they're fewer between. It just keeps getting tougher, it seems. He stays tall on the saddle. He can tell where the wind's blowing from. He's the last of his kind.
Scott Southworth is on his way to the Wildish Theater in Springfield, Oregon on Sunday, August 4th. Tickets and information online at wildishtheater.com. You can visit Scott Southworth at scottsouthworth.com or on Facebook at Scott Southworth Music or on Twitter, Scott Southworth at Say Howdy Scott.
My senior year of high school at Springfield High School, we had a little publication that we did every year called The Tableau, where different seniors would interview other seniors for a little booklet and just talk about how our high school experience was and what our dreams were. And I came across mine a while back. The interviewer asked me, what were my big dreams? What would be the perfect life for me? What was it that I wanted to really do with my life? And I wrote, when I was 17 years old, I answered him, I said, if I could be traveling around Europe with my guitar and singing songs, that would be my ideal life. 33 years later, that idea came to fruition. You'd think that you have a certain period of time where you can go out and do those crazy things that you wanted to do when you were a kid. I'm here to say you could do that at any time of your life, and by all means, go take a stab at it, because I'm having the time of my life. And I'm so excited to be coming home and playing for my hometown crowd. It's going to be amazing. This will be even more special because you're going to be there. My conscious recollections of hearing folks like Lefty Frizzell and Hank Thompson and those guys, that comes from KRVM, that station. As soon as I got into range when I was driving into Lane County, I'm on 91.9. I'm at that station, and I always have been. So the fact that you're going to be there at the show and you're going to be emceeing the evening is very special to me. So thank you for agreeing to do that, and I'm looking forward to shaking your hand and finally getting to meet the guy I've heard on the radio for all these years.
The county tore that old bar down, the last honky tonk in town. They're putting up another strip mall in its place.